This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
This episode is brought to you by Opill, the first over-the-counter daily birth control pill available in the U.S. Opill is FDA approved, full prescription strength, and estrogen-free. Plus, there's no prescription needed. Finally, the days of needing a prescription for birth control are over. Opill is available online and at most major retailers. Take control of your health and reproductive journey with Opill. Birth control in your control. Use code BIRTHCONTROL for 25% off your first month of Opill at Opill.com.
So welcome to the first of our match week reviews on the Premier League Cricket Show with me, Ian Livo, and joining me as every week, Mr. Hugh Newsome. How you doing, mate?
How we doing? It's finally cricket season. We're finally up and running. The sun was out a bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did expect to be looking at 32 Premier Leagues today, but unfortunately there was just 4 got to play.
Yeah, it's 4 more than I think many of us thought a few weeks back. So, good on them for getting some games on. And actually, it wasn't the carnage that it could have been. There's a few wickets flying around, I think, particularly in Notts League. But East Anglia, Leicestershire, there's some good scores put up there. Yeah,
I think the bowlers were definitely 60-40 ahead at the weekend. But at the same time, as you say, some people put some good cracks in with the bat. Still games cancelled. I'm looking at the East Anglian League where Frinton-on-Sea didn't get their game on. Down in the south of the league there were a couple of games still off in Nottinghamshire as well. So it's still a tough weekend all round.
Those leagues that did start and those clubs that got cancelled, especially the top clubs there, it could cost them down the line. I mean, particularly we're looking at Notts, and we've got Cavs had their game called off when their sort of rivals around them won. So that's 6 points dropped already for them, which is tough. So hopefully they can get some wickets into action for the next weeks coming up, and doesn't cost them many more points.
Definitely. Hey, listen, over the coming weeks during the season, we're going to be a little bit of a format that we'll have going where we're going to talk about the biggest scores, the lowest scores, the biggest performers, the best performers, the guys who have complete doozies week in, week out. We'll pick them out as well, obviously. We're going to look around the country and have a look at the tightest matches that have gone on, the ones that we should all have been watching if it was on the stream. There's a lot more on the stream this year again already, thank you. And we'll be looking at the standout performers and stuff like that during the season. It'd be great to talk about it right across the 32 Premier Leagues, Hugh.
It's going to be fun, but there's a lot of cricket to pick out. So we will do our best to cover as much as we can. But when you've got 32 leagues going on with sort of 5-6 games a league, that's a lot of maths to work out that I can't add up. So 160 odd games a week, something like that, 180 odd games a week. So yeah, there's a lot going on. So we'll do our best to pluck out the top performers. But with there being 4, it gives us a nice easy start, doesn't it? And we can ease into it before the chaos ensues.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's a really nice way to sort of ease us into the season. I took the opportunity, because there was nothing going on further north than me, to take a ride out to Lincoln, to Lindham Cricket Club, in the shadow, literally, of Lincoln Cathedral, and watched last year's Lincolnshire winners Lindham put newly promoted Long Sutton to the sword. It was a bit of a hard day out for Long Sutton, I think, wasn't it?
Well, it's a tough place to go first up, isn't it? But they'll be glad of some cricket for a start, and they'll have seen the standard that they need to get to. So yeah, that hopefully, it was probably a game they would lose at any stage of the season, you would say, potentially, not necessarily, but more likely than so. So maybe getting it out of the way first in difficult conditions, was not such a bad thing. Just let's people have a look at the league, just relax a little bit into next week, and hopefully they can crack on from there on in.
Yeah, the skipper at Long Sutton, Jake Burton, would describe it as a free hit. You're newly promoted into the league. You go into top of the table from the previous year. It's a free hit to see where you go when it's 10 degrees at best. We got, 30% of the afternoon and a bit of sunshine. The rest of the time it was just bloody grey clouds, and it was cold. There's no two ways about it.
Well, I think over in the east it was a bit murky where we were. I was down at Derbyshire watching them struggled against two Aussie Test openers, or Test batters. But it was. I think the further east you went, the colder and murkier it got for most of the weekend. Actually, the middle and the west, I think we had decent sunshine, which hopefully has set some grounds into some good order for next week.
Fingers crossed. Hey, let's go as far east as we can, shall we, to start with? And the league that's had all the headlines, and including ITV News at the weekend, the East Anglian Premier League. We did a preview with Dan Heath of Sawston and Babraham last week, and it's great to hear how many people have listened to it and some feedback we've had already. Unfortunately for Dan, the top two from last year, Swaderston and his own club, Sawston and Babraham, both got beat first week of the season, as did Great Witchingham, the team that everyone's been talking about with 4 pro/ex-pro players in the side. Quite a weekend.
Well, it was, shows you the depth of that league. That is a really, really strong league. And I think they sort of predicted that it was going to be strong. But looking at the results this weekend, you've got Mildenhall, who won away at Swaderston, which was a massive result. But then that Great Witching one that's been catching all the headlines. So you've got Monty Panesar playing, you've got Phil Mustard playing, and they've got 2 more potentially to come in Ollie Stone and Jay Weatherall coming in as well, potentially. So Great Witching would have really appreciated a win, and they just fell 4 runs short in the chase. In what they looked well set. Phil Mustard did really, really well. Got, I think he was on about, I was keeping an eye on this one as well. He was on about 40 off, I would say 20, 25 balls, something like that, and then really started to accelerate. And then they just got him out towards the end. Josh Cantrell, who's Bury's captain, just caught him off Tom Rash for 65. And then at that point, I think the rate just started to climb, and they weren't able to get over the line. So that's a massive win for Bury, and disappointing weekend for Great Witching, considering the side they put out.
Yeah, and I think the ITV News people were there. They were probably hoping that it was going to go down to that last wicket and Monty going in there to finish it off, but it didn't get to that point, did it?
No, Monty 3 wickets. Great to see him. Great to see him out there. I think pretty decent stats by the look of things. 9 overs, 3 for 36. So he's done a job for his team, but they just couldn't get there with the bat. And you're not going to trust Monty with the bat, are you? I mean, I'm sure his batting's improved since he first came on the scene, but goodness me.
It's always one of those questions, isn't it? A former Test player whose batting you might not particularly trust. At what level could you trust it? Is it Premier League cricket, or would he have to go down to Div 6?
Well, I mean, he's a legend, isn't he? So I'm hoping
Absolutely.
Monty, he wasn't he wasn't a natural athlete, shall we say, when he came on the scene. Let's be polite about that. But actually his fielding improved. I mean, he saved England in a Test match. His batting improved. So it'd be interesting to see where it is now, whether he's, because he probably had to work at it so hard. Has it maintained its level, or has he sort of dropped away? So it would have been nice to see how he went. Yeah,
he definitely worked at his game without a shadow of doubt. The other person who caught my name in that league was Jordan Neal, taking 6 for 43 at Horsford, who I think it's fair to say they took a little bit of pleasure in messaging us on Saturday night to say, hello, you didn't mention us on your preview, and we've just beaten Sawston and Babraham. And to be fair, I don't think they did get a mention on the preview, but they had Sawston and Babraham. I think it was 90 for 7, I'm going to say.
Right.
And then Dan Heath, who we spoke to last week, came in, and together with the opener CJ Guest, they sort of got something going again for Sawston and Babraham. But to bowl them all out for 171, and then I think it's fair to say chased them down reasonably comfortably. Yeah,
well, Jordan Neal, I had a quick look at him this morning. He's a runs and wickets merchant, South African. Mm-hmm. He's young as well. I think I've got him at 21, 22, came over to, I think he was at Appleby Frodingham, I think it's pronounced, in the Yorkshire South Prem, and did really well as a young lad. And he's obviously his stock has risen, and he's moved into this league as their main man, and he's got 80 there. And he get wickets as well, I think, didn't he? Yes, 6 wickets and 80. So we're talking about the performance of the weekend, regardless. If you put that performance across 32 leagues, there's a good chance that's up there as one of the highest in the country as well. So he's really, really performed well there in his first game for them. And
in a Radio 5 link, we will say, look out over the coming weeks. We're going to be running a poll every week on our social media for the performance of the week. We think we're going to pick out 3 people from across the Premier Leagues. It might be someone who scores a magnificent 100. It might be somebody who takes 5, 6, 7, 8 wickets. It might be, as Jordan Neal's done, they've done both. And together with our friends at CricX, we're going to put a poll out every single week then to let our listeners and our followers decide who's going to win the CricX performance of the week. We don't want to be the ones just to say who it is. We're going to let you listeners and followers do that. So he would, without a shadow, be right up there with that performance.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think these, when you get a young pro, there's a lot of potential there, and then there's still space for them to improve. You're not getting a finished article. So to see him jump straight, it's a pressure cooker environment he's wandered into there. And with that performance, I mean, look out, the rest of the league, that is a statement performance from him. So he's certainly going to be one to watch.
It is. So apologies again, Horsford. We did have a bit of banter back and forth on socials at the weekend. We will be watching very closely, and Jordan is definitely a player we'll be keeping an eye on. Is there anything else we need to talk about in the East Anglian League?
Well, I thought Nikethan Radhakrishnan needs a mention. Aussie of Indian heritage came over last year. And it just, he's the lad who can bowl right arm off spin, left arm orthodox, depending on, depending on the batter. And then he's rocked up with top score in the league this weekend. 91. So, a real standout performance for him straight away. So he, again, the pros there and young pros, again, he's a young lad. I think maybe 23, something like that. So, you've got a couple of young Southern Hemisphere lads doing really, really well straight out of the gate in that league.
Where does that put him in the list of all-rounders? Because I'm always one to say all-rounders can be annoying because they can do both, but he can do not only both, he can do it with both arms.
Yeah. Let's hope he's a rubbish fielder just to make up for,
Please let us know.
Yeah.
Please let us know.
I'm sure
it would just make us feel a bit better, wouldn't it, really? A little bit better about ourselves, definitely. Hey, that's East Anglia. We're going to jump around the 4 leagues this week as we can do. We've got the time to do it. Shall we jump to the Leicestershire League?
Yep.
Hugh, and have a look what happened there.
I've written lots of runs.
Yeah, lots of runs and some very familiar names, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, I think most games had 400 runs in, there or thereabouts, a 300, a 400, a 300, a 400 and a 400-ish, give or take a few. I was a bit surprised. Obviously, Leicestershire being a bit further west, I thought the pitches would be more trouble, but no problem at all. There's a very normal looking weekend of results there. Yeah,
and last year's champions Kibworth got off to a bit of a flyer with 287 runs away at Barrow Town. They beat them by 106. Largely down to 108 from Josh Cobb.
Yeah, I mean, he's quite a handy bloke to have coming.
I think that's a little bit of an understatement.
Yeah, I mean, 108 off 75. I mean, he probably just looked like he was having a net, didn't he? But just looking at that, it just looked like he was having a day out. 10 fours, 7 sixes. Be interesting to see what his graph was like, but I suspect he got himself in and then accelerated, but maybe he went from ball 1 to, a really terrific performance from him.
I think that's a bit ominous for the Leicestershire and Rutland League as well, because Kibworth won the title last year and Barrow Town did come 6th, middle of the table, and that was quite a beating, I think, by the looks of things. So be interested to watch what happens there going forward.
Well, they've got, I assume they've got Josh till T20 Blast starts, which is the first week of May, and maybe they'll lose him for a week beforehand for sort of training and what have you. Whether he can play around that, I don't know. So that, with such a strong performance straight up, they're going to potentially be vulnerable in that white ball window, and you've got the 100 as well. So he's, it's what they can do without him there. Can they maintain that standard when he's going to be missing for big chunks of the summer.
Definitely. So the team who came second last year, Rothley Park, they got off to a decent start, scoring 217 at home to Lutterworth. Won by 57 runs. Again, reasonably comfortable. I think the thing I picked out on in that innings of Lutterworth, again, our friend Dieter Klein taking 3 more wickets. He's just always in the wickets week in, week out, isn't he?
Well, it's sort of, how many did he get? 9 last year.
Yeah.
In one game for 9 for about 4. So it was nice to see him in the wickets again, but not being so greedy this time. Yeah, a solid solid win for them. I suppose the little game was potentially in the balance there. Lutterworth were, scoring quickly but losing wickets, and they lost wickets. So just at the end, a good fair looks like 10 and 11. Put on some runs for Lutterworth. Probably wasn't quite as in the balance as it looks on the scorecard.
And who else stood? Anyone else in the batters and the bowlers in the Leicester League stand out for you? That when you've been looking this morning,
we've got Sam Bates 94 for Newton and Linford, and Sonny Patel as well. You see his name crop up quite a lot there, so he had 84 for him. And then in the bowling, Ibrahim Afzal for Langtons, who were on the wrong end of decline, I believe, last year. 5 wickets for him in a losing cause. So
yeah, what did he take? He took 5 for 49, but they still got beat. He'd be disappointed by that one, I'm sure.
Well, he'll feel smug, but everybody else around him didn't quite help him out. So he could have done with a bit more help, but a good performance from him in the top there. But promoted team, Horton and Thurnby come straight up and won as well. So that's a great start to their season. We've seen them struggling in Leicestershire and East Anglia, but doing well straight away here in the Leicester.
Always a good thing if you come up to get off to a winning start, isn't it?
Absolutely. And they did well. 144 bowled Cropson out for 144, and
Cropson were a mid-table side last year, so it's not like they've gone up against one of the strugglers from the previous season. So you're right. You're picking up on a result there for any team that's come up, and within that Horton and Thurnby side, highlights for them, I'm sure, would be the 50 for Andrew Reynoldson. And in the Cropston innings, you've got the wickets being shared around. Jash Giani with 3 for 12, Abai Katosh 3 for 28. It looks like they put a good team performance together, which is what you want when you come up from the division below.
Well, it's a solid win, wasn't it? And that 50 there, cementing the batting. But yeah, there wasn't a huge amount of runs at that game, but a big win for them to start the season. Hopefully they can then keep that rolling, because it's a difficult league.
Oh, such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com's primetime kickoff event. Save up to 50% off select styles, plus doorbusters. Rules and restrictions may apply.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
So let's get back into the Lincolnshire Premier League. I was at Lindham on Saturday to see the last year's champions and see how they got on. What did you pick out in the Lincolnshire League yourself?
We've got Jack Berry, not Jake Berry. Got a few Jakes we're talking about today, but Jack Berry, 85 from 58. So I think that's a sign of a decent fast innings. Looks like a high quality innings to really set the game up for Bourne there.
Well, I'm looking at that game there where Sleaford scored 210 off their 50 overs, and Bourne have scored 213 for 3 to win off 33 overs.
Yeah, done really well. Yeah.
Between Jordan Temple, 64 off 101 balls, and Jack Berry, 85 off 58. You're right. They set it up well. They were 156 for 1. They really went at it there, which is quite a start for Bourne.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, must have been a decent wicket to be able to hit your shots like that. We've got two guys. So you got Jack at the top striking at 146, and Peter Morgan came in towards the end, 26 off 14 balls. You know, really, really hitting the ball hard. So got that done and dusted very, very quickly. So that was a really, really strong statement performance from them.
Yeah, the other big scoring game in the Lincolnshire League was the Grimsby Town game against Grantham, which, if I'm looking at it correctly, Grimsby fielded, and then they come back and lost by 7 runs in a 50-over game. Yeah, that's tight. There's no two ways about it.
I think there was we spoke to a few people about Grantham. We weren't quite sure what they were going to do.
Yeah,
and looks like a really solid performance from them. You know, again, runs spread across the top 4, a few little cameos further down, and then wickets, again, pretty well spread. Wickets, well, we've got 3 guys with wickets, but decent run rates. One lad, Ahmad Raza, 22 off his over, so he cost him a bit. Looking a bit rusty there, 3 no.
I think where they'll be very pleased is when you've got your 5th bowler, Newman Abid, taking 3 wickets, and your 7th bowler, Akib Afzal, taking 4.
Yeah.
You're happy with your change bowlers there, aren't you?
Well, you're either that or... Panic button was hit and chuck it to anybody, and they got lucky. So we'll see what the season brings for the rest of the year.
Definitely. So Grantham, people were asking what's going to happen there. That was an interesting one. Woodhall Spa, who were mid-table last year, they scored a lot of runs in their win over at Spalding. But that league's going to take a few weeks to settle down, obviously. From what I'm led to believe, there's a number of pros still not arrived yet, so they'll be there the next week or two, and that always makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Netlham, who bottomed last year, have had a tough start. You know, I don't know whether they're short of pro or what, but bowled out for 68. Bracebridge Heath 69 for 1 off 15. Tough start for them. They weren't relegated last year due to sort of the nature of them. Nature of the league. They were missing a club, so a club came up and they were able to be reprieved. But yeah, that's a tough first day out for them, and they could be in for a long season. Yeah, and Bracebridge's leader of the pack as such was Alexander Clegg, who took 6 for 7 in his 7 overs there over at Netlham. In 6 for 7, that would again be up there in the performances of the week without a shadow. Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it, for Netlham? So to be on the wrong end of 6 for 7, skittled out for 68. There's not an easy start. Yeah, there's going to be some... not an easy start. Some words said in the dressing room after that, I suspect. Hey, let's jump into the final of the 4 leagues who got to play at the weekend in Nottingham. Unfortunately, in Nottingham, there were a couple of games that were postponed. The one at Plumtree was cancelled. And you pointed it out early in the pod. Cavaliers and Carrington versus Radcliffe cancelled. Cavs will be very disappointed to have missed out on week 1 and getting a game on, obviously. Puts them a little bit behind the 8 ball, doesn't it? Absolutely, yeah. Plumtree is also one of my favourite club cricket names of all time. I went on a scout camp, probably a cub camp to Plumtree when I was a kid, and I had a very nice time. So I've always got a bit of a soft spot for anything to do with Plumtree. So it just sounds idyllic. But yeah, it's a nice spot. It's an area that I know reasonably well. Yeah, there's some, I think that Cavs game, that's a big loss, or not a loss, a big cancellation early doors for them. Yeah. And this is the problem with starting leagues this week when not everybody was able to be ready. And that's why most leagues have pushed back, because it sort of compromises the competition a little bit. And that's already had an impact in the Notts Prem, which is a bit of a shame. But, you know, everyone else was ready to go. So it's unfortunate for Cavs. Yeah, and obviously, you know, for Cavs, they'll be looking at Kimberley Institute and Cockney won the league last year. Kimberley Institute came second, both getting off with pretty straightforward wins for both of them to start the season off. They're now already ahead of them. Interestingly, Kimberley Institute won by 7 wickets at home to West Bridgefordians. Ironically, West Bridgefordians had the highest scorer in the league last week. Ben Martindale, the name we've spoken about previously, 65 runs there, out of West Bridgefordians 99. I mean, he's fresh off. I think he got 140 for Notts 2s in the week, so he'll be pleased with his performance. But yeah, that's a worrying result for West Bridgefordians with your Notts contracted pro doing so well. Yeah. If he's just done very well for Notts 2s, is he going to then go into what seems to be a relatively not unsettled Notts team? But they've pulled the They put a big score up yesterday, but they've been looking a bit ropey early doors this season. And with the T20 coming up, I think they've been earmarked for white ball. He's a big, strong lad. So yeah, that's a worrying one for me for West British Fordians. The other one that worries me is Attenborough. I think they finished third bottom last year. Woollerton have just cruised that, bowled them out in 34 overs and cruised it 1 wicket down. That's a worrying result. I know they lost Sav Pereira in the winter and quite a few other players, I believe. So yeah, you've got a couple of teams there that not started well, might bode badly for the season to come. So yeah, let's
look at the other end of the pack though. Back at the top there is Putney with their nice straightforward win at Welbeck. And that name again that we spoke about probably almost as much as anybody else last year, Mr. Nicholas Keast of the Keast family, 63 runs, 2 for 13. He's up there again, isn't he?
Well, he just does it. I think we decided there's 3 Keasts, at least 3 cricketing Keasts. And he was top of the tree last year in the Premier Leagues, 63 or 42. Again, just going hard at the top, just sets the game up for everybody else. It wasn't a tricky chase, but it's these weather conditions, you don't know. 104 from Welbeck could have been useful, but it proved Putney, were well ahead of that. So they went hard early, lost a couple of early wickets, but Nick Lamford settled the ship. And, I think Nick Keast just got out just at the end there. The job was done.
And I think it's going to be one of those things throughout the season for us, Hugh, where we're just going to be talking about 80% of the same names year in, year out. We just want to see that 20% who come through, those new names, those guys who we haven't had a chance to talk about in the last few months in some of the previews and the reviews of last year. There's going to be players who all of a sudden jump out and we go, hey, hang on a minute, that's a player to keep an eye on, isn't it?
Yeah, you see the guys improving year on year, particularly, as they go into the early 20s through to the mid 20s, you get this acceleration in their performances, or you hope you get that, and then you get the overseas pros popping up. You don't quite know where an absolute all-star overseas pro is going to pop up. That's always fun seeing. We saw in the Liverpool comp, Aaron Jahal last year. I think he put 300s in a row straight up. Then he got injured, but he was a real standout. So hopefully we'll be looking for those kind of players appearing in the different leagues around the country this summer.
Yeah, most definitely. And obviously what we're going to do in coming weeks, pretty short one this week because we've only got 4 to talk about, but what we're going to be doing in coming weeks, we'll also have either a guest from a club or a guest from a league will come on week in, week out and have a little bit of chat about what's been going on around their league, because clearly you don't want to just hear us two going on about it. You want to hear from the people who are on the ground and who know those leagues inside out. So if you fancy coming on the pod at some point, give us a shout. Got no problem with you contacting us through our socials, and just give us a shout. And we want to get as many people involved around the leagues from around the 32 Premier Leagues in the country.
We don't pay though.
We don't get paid. We don't get paid.
No.
So that means
so we're not paying you.
No.
You can come on, but you're not getting paid. We'll give you. It's like a charity. You got to feel you're giving to the cricket charity. That's what it is. You've got to treat it like that.
But if you want to pay us...
Yeah, that would be better. Yeah. In fact, paid guests only, £100 a pop.
There we go. £100 a pop. Yeah. Come on, and we'll give your club...
And we'll get insulted.
Yeah, we'll give your club more coverage in socials for the whole week ahead.
There we go. Bribery. That's it. Yeah. Bribery.
I have a funny feeling there's chairmen all over the country listening to this going, oh, is that worthwhile now? Oh, cool. What can we get out of that now?
Yeah, they can take it to the committee meeting and sit down. Yeah,
that means it's not going to happen this year.
Should we bribe the Premier League?
It's not going to happen this year. If it has to go to a single club's committee,
decided in October.
Yeah, not in the chance. We've got a lot more leagues getting going next week. Fingers crossed the weather sticks with us for the coming week. I think it was a little bit better yesterday around our way, I know that. But just to give everyone heads up, we've got the Bradford League getting cracking next week. Derbyshire and Cheshire are supposed to. Derbyshire, I'm not quite sure, but there you go. We've got some real big leagues getting going as well next week, because we've got the Northern Prem, Liverpool and district competition. The Lancashire League should all get going this weekend. So look out for some more previews as well later in the week. We've got the Northern Premier League preview is going to be coming out together with the Yorkshire North preview. And that's a really, really good one. And there probably will be 2 or 3 more coming out this week as well. Hey, on that note, there's not much more for us to say this week. It's been a very quiet match week 1. hopefully we don't have any more quiet weeks throughout the season. Normally, it's down to being a complete washout if it happens, and that's when we really will be struggling.
It's going to be good. It's going to be, that's it. We've had all the bad weather. It's going to be gorgeous for the rest of the summer, I promise.
And we're now going to just talk non-stop Premier League cricket. And don't forget, we'll also be talking NCCA when they get going over the coming weeks. In fact, the first T20s for anyone who fancies any national counties is next Sunday. The first round of their T20s will be happening all over the country. Keep an eye out on our socials for them as well. Right. Good to speak to you. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers now. Thanks for listening to the Premier League Cricket Show. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes and stay updated on all the latest news, views and discussions from around the Cricket's Premier Leagues. And be sure to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at TPL Cricket Show on both. Join the conversation, share your thoughts and connect with us and your fellow Premier League cricket fans. And hey, if you enjoyed the show, why not show us some love? Leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast platform, as it helps other potential listeners to find us when they're searching for cricketing podcasts. Thanks again for being part of the Premier League Cricket Show family, and until next time, have a good one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.